understand that we don't need to do every single thing that had caught our fancy as a young person. And we just need to keep aligning ourselves, be more and more mindful, more and more conscious, keep reinventing or resetting, certain things that made sense to us at one point of time in life might not make sense to us anymore at this point of time. So it's always very important to keep on calibrating ourselves. I definitely have this perspective while reading this and sharing this with you, and that is a lot of our cue or our environment can also depend on the company that we are keeping, the people that we have around ourselves, the kind of pursuits that we have been engaging in. So now, here are a few examples where there's a craving or a temptation, and the hidden need, and what's a calm alternative to that particular craving or temptation. Okay?
Namaste, everyone. Welcome to today's guest talk titled From Craving to Calm Restoring Freedom from Endless Stimulation. Our guest speaker today is Ms. Richa Sharma. Richa is a therapist and a musician who has worked in the fields of mental wellness, parenting, education, and meditation. She holds postgraduate degrees in applied psychology and English literature and a certification in music therapy. Richa believes in the healing power of slowing down and simple living. With over a decade of experience in supporting young people and inspired by parenting and spirituality, she continues to explore the quiet path of self work, balance, and inner calm. Welcome, Richa. It's lovely having you with us today. Looking forward to the session. Over to you.
Thank you, Arunima, for a very heartfelt introduction. Good evening and namaste, everyone. Good morning, sir. Happy to see all of you here. And I hope that you find great value in today's session. Sometimes it so happens as a speaker that I'm I'm picking up a topic and I don't say that, I'm doing it for my audience. I tell myself I'm doing it for myself. Probably I needed this wisdom, I needed this knowledge. So when I prepare and when I speak about it, then it really enriches me and it inspires me to move in that direction more. Please just let me know if my screen is visible. And as I begin, I also want to share that there was this very popular ghazal by मिर्जा गालिब that says हजारों ख्वाहिशें ऐसी कि हर ख्वाहिश पे दम निकले बहुत निकले मेरे अरमान लेकिन फिर भी कम निकले. And I have been that kind of a person when I was a young girl in school, college. There were so many things that I've been wanting to do, learn this, study this, read this, do so and so many pursuits. And I probably it was a part of my nature because I took it from my father. When he was younger, he also was as ambitious or mehatvakanshi as I was. Then I saw him slowing down, and he used to tell me, what's the point this of running after so many things? And I didn't understand because I was at that younger stage. And now as I take life each day, I have really begin to understand that we don't need to do every single thing that had caught our fancy as a young person, and we just need to keep aligning ourselves, be more and more mindful, more and more conscious, and keep reinventing or resetting, certain things that made sense to us at one point of time in life might not make sense to us anymore at this point of time. So it's always very important to keep on calibrating ourselves. So with this background, I'd like to share my screen Just one second. I'm happy to see so many of you, and please feel free to share your reflections and thoughts around this topic. Just let me know if you can see the screen now. Is it visible? Yes?
Yeah, the PPT is visible. If it's comfortable,
I
you can make it full screen.
Yes, I just did.
Yeah,
Right?
yes.
So topic is from craving to calm. And I see that these are two sides of a spectrum. So, and we can be at various levels at different time in our life. Somebody who's appearing very calm at one time might not be a calm person throughout. And we always need to be very mindful of, where we are at every point of time in life. So here's a small reflection for all of you as we begin. And we'll come back to this towards the end also with some insights that we have discussed through the session. So, my first reflection is, and you could write your answers on the chat box, or you could keep it for later discussion as well. So, when did you last feel truly calm in your day? So, in the 24 hours of your day, when was a particular moment that you felt truly calm? You could visualize that experience, you could make it as vivid as possible. And I'm definitely certain that no screens were involved in that experience, right? When you felt extremely calm. Again, does scrolling bring you peace or more craving to go towards the next post or the next reel? Um, and as we discuss this, I do want to remind all of us here that we are not judging online content. We're not judging people who are watching content online or who are extremely stimulated by anything at any point of time. But we are just trying to understand a little bit of science around craving, stimulation, how what it does to our body, and what we can do to consciously manage it. That's our approach here. So no judgments. Even if you are have been scrolling through the day, please don't feel guilty about yourself. You might find something that you can apply henceforth. So after 1 hour of scrolling online, do you feel lighter or more agitated? And I find some nice answers here. I'd like to read some of those. When you do meditation, you feel very calm. When cleaning the home, unexpectedly you feel calm. When way back home from yoga class or after doing dishes. Wonderful reflection. So these are experiences that are tangible. You are very alive while doing those acts. You are feeling very mindful at that moment, and these are experiences that are making you feel calm or peaceful in your day. Again, two more reflections. What do you usually reach for when you are tired or stressed? And yes, for some of us, our answer can be we reach out to our phone. And no guilt around that. It could be a reality. And what might your craving really be asking for? So as we proceed, we will try to understand that our craving might be trying to tell us about an underlying need. If you crave up बाहर से देखने से it might appear that you require a piece of chocolate, but on the inside, it might be trying to tell you something else. Okay, so we'll try to understand that. So connecting with nature, walking in the park, very beautiful. Thank you for your answers, my dear friends. So happy to see your responses. Let's move ahead. So here it's a very small definition of craving. And by that, we might mean it's an intense urge or longing, and it's usually attached to pleasure or a sense of relief or comfort. And this can override our reasoning or rationality, and it can pull our attention repeatedly towards that object, behavior, or experience until we do not accomplish it or complete it. We'll keep craving for that particular pursuit, right? I hope I have been able to explain it without sounding too jargonic. So, in a jiffy, craving might mean you feel a very strong urge towards something. So, and we have different terms for it. We might say, hey, I really uh, I wish to do this, I feel like eating this, and things like that. I just want to watch this. And we might have a very strong call or pull towards that particular pursuit. And some of you may have read the book Atomic Habits. And if you haven't, especially for those younger to me, I strongly recommend you checking out this book. It's very scientifically designed and step by step. It explains a lot of aspects around our habits, around our craving, the unhelpful pursuits that we engage into. And there's this one discussion that says there is a cycle around our craving where what happens is we have a cue. So the cue is our environment, and there is a certain trigger in the environment. Say a friend opened their tiffin box and it was smelling delicious cookies or chocolates or pastry or noodle or something. And I might have promised that I'm not going to eat junk food because I have some health goals to follow. But that cue definitely triggers something inside me, and I have a craving. I feel a surge of dopamine inside me, which is anticipating a reward, the reward of eating something sweet or sugary. Just for instance, we can apply this example to anything that's applicable: watching a web series, talking to someone, picking up our Instagram, and the posting something. And then, based on that craving, we engage in a certain behavior. That's the action we take. So, this is our control. This is a very conscious act that we are engaging in. And this is where our personal responsibility is coming in. And as a result of that, we do get a certain reward, which might be momentary, might be temporary, or might be permanent based on what kind of behavior we have chosen. Now, here I want to add, this is not written in the book, but I have this I definitely have this perspective while reading this and sharing this with you, and that is a lot of our cue or our environment can also depend on the company that we are keeping, the people that we have around ourselves, the kind of pursuits that we have been engaging in. So, for instance, if I look at myself, and if some of the pursuits that I have might be, listening to the Yes talks or visiting the Sri Aurobindo Ashram, Delhi, then my cues might be something like receiving a talking assignment or receiving an assignment to sing a song or things like that. So, depending on the kind of environment you are choosing yourself to put into, you will be receiving cues like that. So, if you are surrounded by a peer circle who is into gaming, you will definitely have cues that will push you into gaming sooner or later. And similarly for addictions, for all kinds of behavior that might be labeled as good or bad, you are choosing the environment beyond a certain age. You can't say, hey, I didn't know, I had no control, I was just here by default, right? So you can start this craving cycle by consciously putting yourself in a circle which feels more nourishing to you already, right? And now here's one more concept that I wanted to introduce to all of you here. I'm sure some of you are familiar with this, and that's called hyperreality. And this concept is also widely discussed in the book, The Atomic Habits. And it says a lot of a lot of stimuli that we have around ourselves that is presented on the virtual screen is presented in a very hyper way, so that there is no difference between the reality or the simulated aspect of it. So, for instance, when you look at an advertisement of McDonald's or Pizza Hut burger or pizza, or when you look at a cartoon, children's cartoon where characters are eating pizza, and you look at that and the cheese is being stretched, and you really feel, oh my God, this is so delicious, this is so tempting. But when you eat an actual pizza, even if it has cheese, the cheese is not as stretchy or as wide as it appears on the screen, right? Similarly, for a cookie, you can see there is a very cute cookie out here on the screen, whereas a real cookie that we eat might be delicious, it might fill us with sugar, but the actual experience of it, it'll have some broken parts, it'll have some fragments, it'll be spilling, right? So there'll be some the real experience is not as polished or perfect as it appears on the screen. And here, my dear friends, I also want to introduce an experience that I often had when I was teaching in a boys' school few years back. There were many teenagers who would come to me and discuss how they are starting to get addicted to pornography. And that's where my work would be to make them understand that there is so much of overstimulation being induced by the content that you're watching, that you'll no longer feel triggered or no longer feel attached or attracted to real human beings, right? um so this is what hyper reality experiences do to us, which is quite sad. But if we are able to understand it, we can get out of the trap that it's trying to put us into. Now, consider, for example, a real experience. It might not be as attractive, it might not be as stimulating, but it'll definitely be calm. So, when you look at a strawberry image on the television, it makes you feel that it might be so sweet, so delicious, and so colorful, so pink. It happened with me actually. Until I had never eaten a strawberry, I really believed that it must be so sweet and delicious. And one day, when my mother brought real strawberries from the grocery store, and we had it, and we realized, oh God, it tastes tangy as well. It's not as sweet as we had perceived it to be. So the reality might be very organic, it might have flaws of its own, but it'll be more nourishing to us, right? So that's a very thin line between a hyper reality um, and our real experiences. If we begin to believe that what we are seeing on the screen, on our Instagrams, is real, right? And the I would say the distinction is being blurred more and more these days. We are beginning to believe what we are seeing on the screen, all the experiences are extremely real, and we feel dissatisfied because we are not able to simulate that experience in our own real world. So, hyperreality is a concept from a very contemporary researcher. His name was John Baudrillard. And there's a discussion in this book, Atomic Habits, about this concept as well. And here, the images or the media or all the digital experiences that you see on the screen, including pornography, they feel very real. And when you actually engage in those experiences in the real world, you feel very dissatisfied because they have overstimulated you to an extent that you no longer feel calm, or you no longer feel happy or attached to the experience which is real, because you feel very dissatisfied. Right. So here are a few examples that I was able to pick up. And Instagram now today is I think an institution of hyperreality, if I'm not overstating myself. So, just for instance, when you look at a cookery kind of a recipe or a show or a chef's content online, or somebody trying to share, hey guys, this was my breakfast, I had it at a seven-star restaurant, and you see those seamless smoothie bowls without a single drop here and there, and with perfect symmetry, flowers or seeds sprinkled on the top. But where is your reality? Your breakfast bowl is probably something rushed because you had to send your kid to school, you have to send your partner to office, you have to go to work yourself. So your real experience does not seem like what you're seeing on the screen, and you might keep telling yourself that oh my God, they are all leading the best days of their life, and I am out here feeling self-pity about myself. I don't have a picture to this here, but of course, also cozy morning routine. So you might have seen, hey guys, this is what I do in the morning. This is how I start my day, and it looks so amazingly perfect. Right. And that the idea for those content creators is definitely to inspire us to make better pursuits in our life. But if we begin to feel that their lifestyle is infallible and they never have bad days, I think that's a mistake we are making. So our morning routines might not always be as cozy as we find on the screen. We can take the inspirations and we can pick up the practices that suit us, and we can start applying that in our own life. And of course, our gym wear or our yoga experience might not appear as perfect as it appears on the screen, shown by other people who are creating content for that very purpose. So similarly, I also feel tourism and travel experiences that we find on the screen are extremely perfect. They um, they make us feel very lured, or they also add a sense of FOMO inside us. Oh my God, I'm missing out. I'm not getting this experience. But when you actually go to that place, you will also see pieces of trash here and there. You will be bitten by mosquitoes. You will have very realistic experiences that you don't see on the screen. And yes, of course, how can we miss the perfect work desks that we find shared by other people on the screen? And look at your own work desk at this very moment. How is it, how does that compare? So what I'm trying to say here is I'm not trying to criticize content creators here who are trying to inspire us with these content kind of content, but I'm just trying to share that we often fall trapped to a better than real image of our own selves. When we look at these overstimulated images of other people, we don't feel satisfied when we look at our own image, and we need to add some touch ups or airbrushing or things like that, or we only wish to present a fragmented image of ourselves online or to other people in real as well, right? So we don't accept the entirety of our life's experience. So here are some of the adverse impacts of endless stimulation. I started with craving. I touched up some aspects about hyperreality, and these, make us fall prey to endless stimulation. So there are some of the adverse impacts that we experience as a result, and they are, shrinking attention span. I think it's no surprise that our attention span has been reduced even lesser to than that of a goldfish. Probably 30 seconds. We can't focus our attention to longer frame content. And just this week, I was having a conversation with one of my wonderful students who shared that they are now in a job where they're required to read long format articles, etc. And they were struggling to begin with. They really found it hard, and then they said, I did some self introspection and I realized I was watching a lot of shorts and reels, and I was constantly changing the content, which probably impacted my attention span, and I was not able to focus on the long format reading, books or articles that I earlier would be able to. And now they have consciously moved on to listening to 1 hour audio tapes or slow content, so that they are able to focus and stay more patient. And I also recommended them to check the Yes YouTube channels, where we do have long format videos and lessons where we can slow down and listen to beautiful knowledge based content with without impacting our attention span, right? So endless stimulation reduces our attention span. You have experienced it yourself. I don't need to speak this anymore. It also fills us with a lot of dopamine. And I don't know if you've seen, there was this video by Pixar Animation where they show what the dopamine spike does to us, and how it leads to quick withdrawal. um, a particular amount of that stimulus, when you consume it, it gives you a great high, and you end up craving more and more of it to be able to experience that same level of high. It happens in case of all forms of addictions, including tobacco, drugs, alcohol, etc. And it's very much happening with social media. We require more doses of it to be able to get that kind of dopamine spike. When you look at one shot, you don't feel good enough. You feel, oh my God, what next? What next? What makes me happy? What makes me feel better? And you just keep going on. It happens with me a lot. I'm confessing. Also, endless stimulation impacts our memory as well, which is very, very startling. It leads to sleep disruptions because of the blue rays. Here I'm talking about, of course, the gadgets and social media induced stimulation. We also become emotionally numb towards something because we have conditioned ourselves to experience greater doses of a certain amount. This can happen in case of food also. This can happen in case of, again, porn as well. You definitely become emotionally numb to real life experiences. Holding hands of a beloved will not give any kind of emotions inside of you if you have been uh, extremely exposed to, um, virtual experiences online. You keep craving for more and more. Your self concept is impaired when you are stimulated extremely, because on the social media there's always something or the other coming up. You saw something, you felt very inspired, and then there's another creator who has created something that surpasses the previous one. So there's always something that keeps coming on, and you are on a scrolling trap. Constantly find yourself scrolling. You just don't, you feel that I'll end it up after 5 minutes, but you just keep going on. And you feel FOMO. You feel a fear of missing out, and you just have to fit in, so you just keep going, and it's like a vicious trap. And here, this happens with me a lot. When I was younger, and when we had the television, and we had some limited TV serials or programs to watch, it was still easier for us to make a decision whether we want to watch something or not, and if at all, what is it that we would like to watch. And I really experience this now. Someday, if I decide that I want to watch a movie, which is very rare, it happens probably once or twice a month. But when I do, and I, open my television screen, and there's so many streaming portals on my television, and I really don't. Before starting, I thought I will be able to pick something very, very soon. But when I open it, I go to Amazon, I go to Netflix, and it just goes on. It probably takes me about 30 to 45 minutes of random scrolling here and there to be able to decide what is it that I'm going to watch. And many of the times it so happens towards the end of it, I decide, oh my God, it's taken me so much of time. I don't want to watch anything. Nothing is worth my time anymore. It's wasted me 30 minutes. So decision fatigue is a very, very real thing. You are presented with so many choices and so many inputs that our brain's decision making center, which is called the prefrontal cortex, it does the work of making decisions. It really becomes so tired, so exhausted, because you're presented with so many options that sometimes you just don't know what to do. So you just start getting fatigued. So often you're not able to choose. Better than this is if you're presented with fewer options, you are able to make a better decision. I I will also add, it also happens with Chat GPT. When you give certain prompts and there are so many options and so many directions, you start getting confused. So again, you need to keep yourself back on track so that you don't lose direction. Again, the nervous system, because you are so overstimulated, it always stays in the alert mode, and your sympathetic nervous system is highly activated. Your cortisol levels can rise, and the sense of calm is considerably reduced, making you feel more stressed or anxious. So just think of this. I'd like to take a pause and just let us all reflect. Something that seems so prevalent, so evident, so normalized, is having such adverse effects upon all of us. Each one of us is victim, including myself. And probably this is why I thought I would like to research and speak on this topic. Um, so maybe as I'm saying, it might impact or inspire you, but it's definitely doing that to me. It's making me feel more conscious towards my choices around stimulation and social media and craving. Our hyper reality also adversely impacts our self concept, because we are exposed to very, very perfected versions of other people. I have, as a psychologist, often discovered people's posts or people's stories online, which later came to be known as, very, very fake. Some couples were presenting themselves as very ideal relationships, and later you come to know that they had such grave issues, but they would just be posing pictures just to show, or they had some need to be presenting themselves that way. um, but when we look at it, we are comparing our lows with their highlight reels. So people are always presenting their lives highlights, their lives greatest achievements, and we end up comparing our mediocre, normal, day-to-day life with their achievements, and we feel, oh God, I'm not achieving anything. I'm not doing anything. People are going places. So that makes us feel very low about ourselves. We present very, very fragmented versions of ourselves online, which we don't need to actually. We don't even need to present some um, image of ourselves online. But we feel a craving or a need to do that, and we get into a loop of external validation. And I also once read that posting something on the social media and receiving a like gives us a great dopamine spike. And it is similar to the spike that people get when they take a drug shot, which is very, very dangerous. The way social media started giving us a high is compared to the way drugs were giving us a high at a certain, few years back. So there is a very, very fuzzy line between who I am and how I appear online. There's no authenticity except for very, very few people. Um, because we want to be accepted, and because we are not able to accept our own selves. So now let's move to this major part of our session today, and that's our craving is trying to tell us something. So when we have a craving inside of us, it's like a messenger, and if we can be aware towards it, the surface need is actually leading us to a deeper need. We can dig it down inside. I'll share that in just a moment. So if I listen to the need behind it, I can consciously choose a more calmer, a more nourishing way to respond to my craving. Okay. Now, we can take this um, as a small metaphor, just like imagine a stream of water. And we are on this other side of the stream. We're probably on the left-hand side of the stream here, where there is craving. Something like, phone rang, a notification came up. And now, even if you were working on a project, you just have to go and check what it was, right? Or shopping, online shopping also. I missed speaking about that earlier, or multitasking. So some kind of craving you have, and the stream of river is a need. You have a void inside, you have an inherent need for comfort, validation, for rest or renewal, for deeper connections. You feel very lonely, you want to be accepted, and you can choose with more consciousness to move through the stream of water and be on the other side where there is more calmness. Okay, by practices like meditation, taking a nature walk, deep breathing, talking to a more evolved person or a mentor who's more experienced than you, or a guru. Uh, Read spiritual books, journal. So using practices which guarantee, which are short practices that people have tried and tested over time, and they vouch for it that this will definitely make you feel more calm. You can navigate through this stream of water in a more beautiful manner. Now, here are a few examples where there's a craving or a temptation, and the hidden need, and what's a calm alternative to that particular craving or temptation. Okay, just like that stream of water metaphor. So, for instance, if you have a craving to just mindlessly scroll through your phone, and we all do that. I do that a lot. There are certain days when I do that very, very much. There are some days when I'm very, very mindful, and my screen time a day is barely 30 or 45 minutes, and I feel very, very proud of myself that day. So mindless Phone scrolling might be trying to tell us we have a need for connection or stimulation, or probably escaping the current reality that we are in right now. Okay, so instead, what can we do? We can call a loved person, we can take a mindful walk, or we can, isolate ourselves from that situation or place. We can do a small journaling check in. Okay, uh, I'm not saying that you have to completely stop the craving or temptation at all times in your life. Sometimes you definitely have to eat that cookie that you've been wanting to. It gives you a kind of joy that you really need at that time. Sometimes our body is trying to tell us a missed need through a certain craving, and it makes us feel good when we engage into that. But we can do that little more mindfully and not being trapped to it. Sometimes it happens, you binge ate a whole box of pizza and then you regret at the end of it. So you can be more mindful about your consumption. So a craving for something sweet or junk food might be a need for comfort or reward or a quick energy boost. You could try some calm alternatives. Many of the times I've felt eating a fruit really helps. Fruit is sweet and nourishing and juicy. um, and I also feel nature helps a lot, but sometimes it's very hot outside, then a 5-minute rest. Um, I will also vouch for the power of music. I have some kind of music pieces that I could call music for a mood. So sometimes if I'm feeling very, very cranky in a day, I know that this is one piece of music which I'll play and it'll definitely relieve me of that kind of bad mood. And it's always done that. And I can tell that music piece to you, but I'd also encourage you find out one music piece that works for you. For each one of us, there can be, for some of you there can be a ghazal, that resonates with you very strongly. For some of you it can be a song of your guru. For some of you it can be a very inspiring song that your friend had sung to you at a time of life. For some of you it can be instrumental music. For me, yes, it is a rag darbari instrumental music, which is very, very calming. It's a flute and santoor and very soft tabla, very slow paced a piece of music that works for me. So I really want to tell you that anytime you want to feel a sense of calm and you don't know what else to do, please consider music. It can be an instant mood calmer, not the fast-paced music, the music which has a BPM of 60 to 70. I've been talking about this elaborately several times. Instrumental ambient music with some nature sounds, hang drum, flute, these are very, very calming alternatives to any kind of craving. Um, Also, overworking or task chasing, you're just completely worked up and yet you want to complete something, you might have a need for validation or control towards that particular task. You could affirm your inner value at that place, and you could take things one at a time, and taking enough pauses or breaks in between. Okay. You could prioritize as well. So sometimes I have found I'm not an elaborate binge watcher. I don't watch too much of television or web series, but I have had phases, and I probably will have those in future as well, where once in 6 or 8 months I will pick up one web series and I might want to watch it through the night. I'll start it in the night and watch it uh, continuously, and not wake up in the morning. The morning will just come. It's happened with me sometimes, and I have felt extremely regretful of doing that. Why did I do this after that? But yes, some of us have been engaging into such pursuits, and the hidden need might be a need for escaping, or we've been working so much in our jobs, we just need a breaker or a breather, or we need some change. So over there, again, pursuing a creative hobby might work for us, or watching it but timing it out. I'll watch one episode today, another one tomorrow, or maybe two episodes today, another one tomorrow. Like that, we can just space it out. Impulsive shopping might be a need for novelty, or self-worth. Of course, a lot of self-worth is attached to our shopping needs. We can find an alternative in gratitude, at least just looking at opening our wardrobe, opening our cupboard, looking at the amount of clothes, jewelry, and stuff that we have. Um, decluttering, rearranging a corner in our home, and very mindfully shopping. This is something that I do that works for me. Sometimes, of course, I go to an online portal and I want to add a lot of things to my cart, and I tell myself, I'm not pressing the, buy now button right away. So I'll give it 24 hours. I'll give it, if it's not urgent, I'll give it probably a week. By the time I come back after a week, I will check off many of those objects because I feel, oh God, my life is working very well even without these items. I don't need them anymore. But at an impulse, I was adding all of that and I might have bought some of those items already. Constantly multitasking, you might be having a fear of missing out. It happens with me as well. You might be feeling a pressure of productivity, and this is where you could try to slow down. I know it's not easy. It will all come with practice. You could single task, and of course, this is something that will work best meditating. And if meditating for a long time seems difficult, start slow. Sit down just for 5 minutes, 2 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever works for you. Constant need for chattering or talking. You feel silence is very awkward. You feel a sense of discomfort. And that's where, a soothing instrumental music might come into play, or deep breathing can be a calm alternative for you. I hope this seems sensible and this seems to be adding value here. So, again, reiterating to what I was talking about earlier, let's choose conscious content. Let us choose to watch cinema or web series or anything that we want to watch, but let's be more mindful about it. Don't be a victim of things happening to you in life as autoplay or autopilot. Sometimes things are just happening to us and we are just letting them happen. Be surrendered to existence and life and gods and divine forces, but please be a little conscious about what you are inviting in your life, okay, including your television, your content. So let it be more structured. And of course, there are some streaming platforms like Netflix and all, which have autoplay. So when one movie gets over, they will immediately start the next one. So that's where you can consciously choose to press pause. You don't need to let autoplay option drive your attention constantly. So how do you embrace your calm through the day? I have divided into 4 parts, and you can pick it up uh, and use any practice that works for you. I have divided it into blocks of different times of your day: the morning, afternoon, evening, and the night. So there are certain things that you can do through your day that can help you manage your craving or your need for constant stimulation. And this is something I have started doing, and it really works very beautifully for me. So in the morning, first thing is I don't I switch off my phone when I sleep at night. I know it's not possible for most of you because you might have family and people who reach out to you, but you can keep it at a distance, and you don't rush for it early in the morning when you just wake up, because 100% when your smartphone or social media is the first thing that you open up, you have given your body a huge cortisol boost, and that's not something that you need at the start of your day, right? So please delay your experience with the digital world 60 minutes at least. So I tell this to myself: until my child has not gone to school, until I've not done preparing breakfast or something, I will not open my phone. And it works for me because I have other members in my home who are handling emergency calls, etc. But if you don't have, you definitely need to keep your phone on and loud, but you might need to manage your craving. Again, hydration in the morning and some movement. If you are able to move into nature, it's very, very beautiful, very nourishing. Some of you might enjoy doing a japa or a meditation or some kind of, chanting or kirtan. For some of you, journaling might work or reading a book might work. And this is something that should work for everyone, and that is not skipping breakfast in the morning. So that but after some hours are passed by, your body might have might start craving, and you might want to fuel it or feed it with anything. So when you are consciously adding a nutritious breakfast, which might have enough vegetables or fruits or something that suits your body, it will support the production of dopamine and it will reduce your craving considerably. So you can plan your morning meals on every Sunday or once a week, and you can consciously curate it through the week. Again, afternoon is a time I really feel there's a huge drop in energy, and we definitely crave for some stimulation so that we feel more perked up or charged up, right? This is where, if your weather is allowing, you could take a walk. When I was working in a very beautiful university campus, after lunch, we went out for a walk with a friend, and it was very, very rejuvenating. But it might not work for everyone. Not everyone lives in beautiful university campuses or ashrams. So you can try to see how you are able to take a conscious break, but stepping away from screens, of course, taking a mindful breathing or talking to someone who is a very positive influence for you. Uh, then have more positive or focused work blocks. I do suggest this to my clients, using a Pomodoro technique, like working for 25 minutes and then take a 5-minute break and then come back. So these are some time blocks that you can use for your productivity, but not don't give into any notifications or phone at that particular time. Or for some people, of a span for 50 to 10 minutes work very well. Work for 50 minutes. This is where our attention span can stay till the optimum. After 50 minutes, there will be a drop in our attention span. So take a break for 10 minutes. And after each block, if you do want, you can reward yourself, or you can stretch, you can drink some tea, you can drink water, or you could just go and hug your family members, right? Again, meals are a very important part in your day. So do not, um, don't go, don't neglect this particular aspect. Have enough items that you need through your day, leafy greens. These are supporting dopamine, which is responsible for, triggering or curating your craving mechanisms. So have your meals on time. You can also use journaling or listen to music. Uh, During the evening, you could do some kind of sunset ritual. In some families, I've noticed, doing a dhoop, the diya bati, agarbatti, praying, reading Hanuman Chalisa, things like that, sitting for meditation. These are practices that really work. My mother used to do this. She used to say that the Sandhi Kal is a period of transition where the day is giving way to the night. And it's a time when we should be worshipping. We should not sleep at this hour of the day and things like that. Nature walk is ideal if you have children in your home. Playing with them or studying with them might be helpful. And yes, this is something that is working for me these days. I try to have a screen detox at least an hour before I go to bed. It's not happening always, but I try to switch off my phone completely. By the time it's 9, I see that, I should, the all the loved ones are conveyed that I'm doing well and all of that, and I can connect with them the next morning. So it unless it's emergency, I try to switch off my phone and spend more time with my family and have light dinner. And at your night routine, you could read something. Reading a spiritual book or a non-fiction, very gentle literature is ideal. Journaling is great. And also look at your sleep hygiene, how your bedroom is, the temperature, the bed sheets, all of that. So here, my friends, what I have tried to encourage you towards is, usually what we do when a craving is coming, we are giving into the stimulation, which is giving us a sense of relief or high at that moment. But after that, when it goes away, the impact goes away, we feel a sense of crash, we feel a sense of emptiness. And then again, the craving happens, and we are repeating the same cycle. Whereas, what we can consciously try to do is, when a craving is happening, we can look at it with a sense of nourishment. Some of the practices that we just discussed above, we could try doing those practices. I know they might not give us immediate pleasure at this moment, but with more practice, they might make us feel more calm and more balanced. And again, when craving arises, we can repeat this cycle. Okay, so this is what I had been trying to share all this while. So again, revisiting the journaling prompts that I had started earlier, I feel my calmest, and some of you shared very beautiful responses. But I feel my calmest when I'm engaged in real life experiences, where I am able to talk to real people. When I meet Dr. Bijlani in his room or at the ashram and speak to him in real, that is a beautiful, enriching experience. When I meet some of you who are present here listening to me, the real experience, family conversations, playing with one another, being in nature, listening to birds, reading a tangible book that I can hold in my hand, slowing down or cooking for my family, these are practices that make me feel my calmest. Of course, adding to some of what you had said, cleaning my cupboard and beautiful things like that. Endless scrolling. If I'm endlessly scrolling and somebody is also telling me, you're spending a lot of time on your phone, I might feel very irritated because, I don't want to hear that reality. It sounds very harsh. But if I introspect, it might be trying to tell me about a deeper underlying need. If I'm constantly scrolling, I might be having a need for connection. And if that's the case, I should look at real people in my life. If I don't have real people in my life at this moment, I should step out of my home and start meeting real people at my neighborhood. पड़ोसी से जाके मिलें, किसी भी तरह से सच्चे लोगों से, अच्छे लोगों से connect करें in real instead of the virtual, or we can have a balance, at least 50-50, but it should not be otherwise, right? I might have a strong need for belongingness, or I want to avoid loneliness, and I'm endlessly scrolling, and I feel that it is fulfilling my need, but it's not. It's creating a deeper crash inside of me. After hours online, I do end up feeling exhausted. I have not found a single person who tells me after hours online they feel more nourished. Okay. And here what we should do, we should track our time on and our online usage. And when I'm tired or stressed, you can add this for yourself. When I'm tired or stressed, I will do dash instead of opening my social media first. Usually what happens, it's a default. You can look at your phone, you can go to the settings, and you can check the number of hours that you were spending on your phone. You could also check the number of times you have unlocked your phone, and sometimes it's embarrassing. You just don't realize. I have discovered that in myself as well. There are some days when I have unlocked my phone every other time, every now and then, and I feel, oh my god, this is what I was doing, and this was so startling, so alarming. So instead of opening my social media, I will do dash. You can have a formula. For instance, I will go hug my daughter, right? Or I will listen to this piece of music, or I'll at least look at my room and see what needs to be done. There's so much of task to be done here. Okay. And finally, every craving is like a water rushing downstream, and it's carrying a message. And if you are able to pause in the middle, if you are able to notice the need that is hidden inside of us, we can guide this flow towards calm instead of chaos. So, we might be able to arrive at a space where हजारों ख्वाहिशें ऐसी आती रहेंगी, मगर उन ख्वाहिशों से हम चुनाव कर पाएंगे, चूज कर पाएंगे that this is the ख्वाहिश which is worth my time or attention. This is the ख्वाहिश which does not need my attention or time at the moment. Thank you so much, my dear friends, for giving your time and attention for the last 50 minutes to me. This is huge. You should really applaud each one of you should applaud yourselves for being here and not losing out on your attention span. And I hope that you found some value in today's presentation. Thank you so much. Over to you, Arunima.
Thank you so much for that insightful and deeply resonant talk, Richa. This one was such a timely and powerful message in our constantly connected world. And you shared your expertise with us today, and in such a compassionate way, you have guided us through this topic. Thank you so much for that. Participants, if anyone of you has a question or you want to share something, please go ahead. The session is open now. You can unmute yourself and speak up, or you can send your messages in the chat box and I can read it out. A few messages in the chat box. You must have seen Richa. Beautiful and very useful talk. Always a pleasure to listen to you. And loved every bit of it.
Hello, Richa. Hi. I also have my daughter here, Meher, and just saying hello to Arunima Rameshji. Just namaste to everyone. And thank you for this lovely session. It was just Sakli also brought out. I was very moved with, some of your vulnerable sharings and coming out in such radical honesty to say that, you've also done binge watching in the whole night and not slept. And I was remembering like 10 years ago, I had similar, experiences sometimes and how one used to cope through stress or whatever, but then one has found better ways. I wanted to actually bring in children, and I don't know if your scope of work is there, but if even if you have something, because I have this little one, of course, and we have so many others as well. I'm also a Mirambika parent, so we do have a lot of practices, that we. But but there are those times, that children like they actually need stimulation, and with that high level of energy. And then there are there are those times that if you have any things to share which is at their level.
That's a thank you so much. That's a very beautiful question, and I also loved you sharing about your resonance with the topic. And you have a beautiful daughter. I say hello to your child. And you asking if there are enough stimulating activities for children that we can imbibe in our family life, in our day-to-day life, where they really are full of energy and they need that kind of stimulation. I strongly agree. I do have a daughter as well, and I know how energetic she is.
So
And
let me just, sorry to interrupt you, Richa. So let me just reframe what I was trying to get at. I didn't want to use the term, them being overstimulated or cranky or even, sometimes having eruptions, right? So they do have that because it's the stage. So, and to keep them in a calm stage all the time is also not desirable, I feel, because there is a child in them. So I'm looking at that dichotomy and the spectrum both, so yes.
yes, I do understand. It's a
Mm.
beautiful question that you're raising out here. Again, I would say every child is different, although all children are energetic, and every parent and their parenting experience will be different. We will need to look at what radiates our child. All children will have some practices that they really enjoy very much. And as a psychologist, I've noticed that physical activity or playing out in the park or going out in the nature, it's something that works with most children,
Mm.
instead of being on the screen. So
Mm.
from an early age, if we are able to introduce our children towards a love for moving out there,
Mm.
walk
Mm.
in nature and running behind trees and birds, etc., that will definitely work. But we will need to be involved out there. So
Yeah.
you can't expect the child is there in the park and you are at home, or running your meetings and the child is there by themselves. they
Mm.
it's not the play that they need as much, they are seeking
Mm.
that kind of connection.
Yeah.
So using nature as your ground or space, if you're able to foster connection with your child, I think that's something which really works like magic. Again, I also use this connection aspect with my child, with respect to reading books with her, and she really enjoys that a lot. Also, invite their age group friends, and yes, that's beautiful, lovely, lovely. Bring children of their age, and
Mm.
consciously engage them into play, indoor play, role
Mm.
play activities, make them jump, make them dance and things like that. I do hope that
Yeah.
we will be able to arrive at a balance that works for them.
Yes. Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Richa. Participants, anyone else wants to ask or share something?
Yeah, I like to share something.
Yeah,
Uh,
please.
the lady with her daughter, uh, keeping children away from electronic devices will become impossible after 10 years because the whole world will go electronic. So, what do we do? Using electronic devices for entertainment is the problem. But using it for pure communication, let's say for work, does not lead to addiction. But if I'm chatting to a friend and expecting responses, the expectation part of entertainment leads to addiction. So we have to be mindful of that. So, how do parents decide the fine line between uh, the child's need for knowledge enhancement versus entertainment? So, uh, in fact, I say playing video games on television or on mobile is equally addictive and not good, because any entertainment of screen is not good. Rather have wooden toys to play or a tree to hug rather than a screen to hug. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, Vishnalji. Thanks a lot.
Uh, I have a question for you, Richa. First of all, thank you. It was a very useful talk. Mhm. And regards to Bijlani sir as well. Um, uh, so what I wanted to, there are actually two questions that I wanted to ask. One is that I have a teenage daughter. She's at a very crucial age of her studies. And she goes through these cycles where she will she'll go through her phone a lot, and like, since both me and my wife are working, we there is a necessity, we need to give her a phone because she comes home alone. And so she will spend some time on the phone, not some, she will sometimes spend hours on the phone, and then she will go into this guilt cycle. She'll realize that it didn't do her good, and then she will go to reading books or playing the guitar. And but this is a cycle. It continues, like, uh, so ho- and I understand what she's going through. Even I go through such cycles myself. But her is a very critical age. She would be giving her board exams very soon. So, and as a teenager, you cannot enforce too much your wishes, or your not your wishes, but your experiences on your kid. Um, and it's better that they realize on their own. So how, how to inspire teenagers to choose uh, these techniques for craving to a calm mindset, so that they can elongate these cycles where they can spend more time with themselves, doing things that they really aspire to do. And then okay, then have a day maybe in few weeks where they give in to their craving, and then they come back to it. So
So, shall I answer this question first? Yeah.
yes,
Okay,
please.
it's a very beautiful question, Deepak ji, and a very, very relevant concern that I find in parents. I have taught teenagers and I understand where they come from. Especially with girls, there is this added indicator on them having started their periods as well. So, every month they go through different phases, the ovulation phase, the phase where their periods are about to arrive. So, one suggestion that I have, you could work it out with your wife and daughter as well, is to notice if there is a particular pattern towards the usage of the phone. I do feel probably when she's feeling very low, when her periods are about to arrive. I'm not generalizing. You might have a totally
Mm,
different kind
mm,
of a pattern. But
mm,
usually, when we are feeling extremely vulnerable with our body or with our self concept or emotions, there might be a stronger need to be drawn towards the phone.
mm,
And when they are feeling more active physically, they might be engaging in, conversation with friends or more active hobbies like reading a book or playing musical instruments, going out and play, and things like that. So you can start tracking it with the help of your child. Again, not doing it in an enforced manner. You seem like a very conscious, loving father, which is very beautiful. So try working it out with the child, because you mentioned she does feel guilty about it as well. So she's also very aware. She also knows what is right for her, what is not. Also, again, sitting with her, and now if she's in a board class, like you mentioned, you can encourage her to set a timeline towards, okay, beta, now September is about to arrive. We might have our pre-boards, one or two or three pre-boards, and we might have our board exams. So can we set our timelines? And teenagers love challenges. They, it really boosts their self-esteem that they took up a challenge on their own and they didn't give into it and they won that challenge. So I mean, instead of being very harsh, starting with a bit of 24-hour digital detox करके देखते हैं, चलो, let's challenge ourselves. And if they win, they can choose a very conscious reward for themselves, and you'll have to be engaged into that. If they are choosing, you might be able to negotiate through that. So this could be one option. Also, I mean, giving it away for one particular duration and converting it into a greater reward after a time. So delaying that particular gratification might also be, for instance, like my daughter's exams are about to start from September. She's very, very small. She's 8 years of age. But yes, I have delayed her need or gratification to watch a movie at this moment. I've told her, once your exams get over, we will watch an amazing movie together. And she loves the all family members sitting together in the room having popcorn, nachos, watching the movie. So she looks forward to that experience. So giving the child an experience that they look forward to for a future time after the exams, and then dealing that particular behavioral aspect. Of course, so the usage of the phone is a behavior, but instead of it there is a particular need. Both parents are not present in the home. बच्चा क्या करेगा उस जगह? So if they can have better alternatives at that time, if they like writing or reading or having a music instrument, or say watching a decent television program for 30 minutes, and setting an alarm बजा, वो टीवी प्रोग्राम ओवर हुआ और आपने बंद करा. उस तरह के प्रैक्टिसेस के टुवर्ड्स हम एनकरेज करें. फिजिकल एक्टिविटी, वॉकिंग, प्लेइंग अ गेम, मॉर्निंग इवनिंग स्केड्यूल थोड़ा और ऑर्गेनाइज करें, तो शायद the child might be able to arrive at a better schedule and practice themselves. I hope this is helpful.
Yes, that's something that I can try. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Richa. Dr. Bislani, sir, I request you to share your thoughts, please.
Thank you, Richa, for not only highlighting a problem which is very contemporary and of great interest to all of us, but also giving us the solutions, particularly towards the end, that slide that you showed, the craving, what hidden need it expresses, and what are the various calm alternatives that are available to deal with that need. And the interesting thing is that we all want to be happy, but we don't realize that we can't be happy unless we are at peace. Because happiness comes coupled with sorrow. It is only peace that can be stable and constant. That's what, is there in that timeless wisdom in the Gita. In the second chapter, there's a very short but very pregnant expression, Ashantasya kutah sukham. How can one who is not in a state of shanti, how can he be happy? So it's peace that we are actually looking for, calm, more or less the same thing, which you were trying to restore, as you said, in this era in which staying calm has become so difficult. It was always difficult, but it has become even more difficult because earlier what very often disturbed it was gossip, for example, in which we got carried away. We all enjoyed it. And to some extent, it was a social need. Even today it is, because I have come across particularly women, the daughter-in-law of the family. When everybody is sitting down for gossip late in the evening after dinner, if she says that I want to go to sleep, or I want to go to read particularly, or I want to do something more meaningful, she is looked upon as the odd one out, very antisocial, what does she think of herself? No matter what the gossip is. So gossiping was a need. But what we can understand is that a lot of this gossip can be harmless gossip. It doesn't have to be something very highly intellectually stimulating or some philosophical discussion. So long as it is harmless, you're not criticizing anybody behind her back. So long as you're not trying to go too much into politics and current affairs and trying to say that all what the government is doing is wrong, and if only I were put in place as the at the top head of the state, then I'll solve all the problems. And within that half an hour of gossip, solve all the national and international problems without actually changing anything. Now, so long as it is not that sort of a gossip, it is quite okay, because some of it can be very meaningful and so on. But then the social media are worse than that, in the sense that at least the gossip was serving the function of keeping the family together, and you needed an accomplice. You had to have at least one more person with you to gossip. Here you don't need anybody. You just have to be on a WhatsApp group which has a few hundred members, and you'll find that there'll be always some gossip going on, and you are free to join in at any time. And if you look at the conversations on that, there'll be at least a few topics of gossip which are circulating in that group, in which you will get involved, interested, and feel like responding. So you are contributing to it and thereby prolonging the gossip and enjoying it. So, I mean, it is filling that sort of a need. So it is sort of that introspection which you gave us about looking into this phenomenon. What is it that we are getting out of it, and what is it that we can do about it? Turning a bit to children, which was quite a long and extensive discussion, which is more important because actually they are the ones who are the future, and they are the ones who are more likely to not only be exposed to the social media, but also the newer versions which will keep coming. AI itself is already threatening to be a major force, and nobody knows exactly where it will lead us. It's not only totally unpredictable, but also seems to be something which is likely to get completely out of control. So all the checks and balances which we have had so far, they will not probably apply to artificial intelligence. And but anyway, keeping that aside, some basic things which probably will be there so long as human beings are around. One is, very young children, the type of child that Sumit brought up. Uh, Actually, children are born learners, and they are programmed in such a way that even through what appears like play and entertainment, actually they are learning something. They are programmed that way. But then, we have this hierarchy in the parts of the being, the physical, vital, and mental, as we call it in Sri Aurobindo and the mother's terminology. So the child starts from the beginning. When a small child learns more through the body than anything else. Soon, the body is joined by the vital, that is the emotional part of the being, and the child learns through the body and the emotions. And the mental part appears rather late, rarely before 7 or 8 years of age. And the capacity to use the intellect properly appears only around the age of 12. And therefore, to look at learning the way we look at it as adults is not really reasonable for the child. So let the child learn through the body by jumping, dancing, and all that movement, and couple it with what satisfies the emotional part of the being, that is singing and dancing and music. And only later on, think in terms of bringing in seriously what requires intellectual participation. So if we follow that sort of a approach, we'll be aligned with the child, truly aligned with the program of the child. So that is essentially what we have to do. And particularly when it comes to teenagers, because teenagers, are passing through that phase when they're neither children nor adults. Their intellect has started working, but yet needs to develop a lot more. In fact, the fully developed capacity of reasoning is said to appear only around the age of 20. So from 12 to 20 or 21, that process is going on. So the child, while passing through that phase, sometimes behaving like a child, sometimes like an adult, on one hand needs parental support, on the other hand tries to shun it. And that is the type of child that Deepak was talking about. One approach which I am finding useful actually while dealing with my granddaughters these days, they are teenagers, is that they may not want to sit and listen to you for very long, but two things help. One is try to sort of make it a two-way traffic. Don't show as if you're trying to tell them something. You try and also involve and ask them something, because they also have a lot to tell us, because there's so much about the younger generation today which we don't understand, either because we have forgotten our own teenage, or because the teenagers today are living in a very different environment compared to the one in which we lived. So both these factors contribute to the sort of what we can do to understand them better. Secondly, what one can do, and I find that very useful, that starts sending them messages on social media. Form a family WhatsApp group, or send individual direct messages to the child, or better still, send emails. And in those emails, don't sermonize. Instead, raise questions which will make the child reflect upon the question and bring out the answers from them. And you find very often that the answers are so like what actually you might have told them to do. Because as Sri Aurobindo has said, that nothing really can be taught. All knowledge is innate. So you have to bring it out. And in these issues particularly, which are not dealing with sort of pure facts, we're not talking about science or history or geography where facts are there and it may not be innate knowledge. You're talking about ideas basically. So raise a question concerning an idea and let the child participate in a dialogue. And you find that you can bring a lot out of the child herself. It's that knowledge is within. And then, the child has a sense of ownership. I gave this answer, I have brought it out. The child has not only given the answer, the child has gone through that inner work, that reflection which was required for that answer to emerge. So this is an approach which I'm finding very useful. Now, a few other things. One is, as you talked about the company we keep. Yes, that's very important, because actually, if you look at ancient Indian wisdom, ahar, food, we all know that cliche, we are what we eat. We become what we eat, But then in the ancient Indian wisdom, ahar, as it was called, was not just what we eat, but everything that we consume or take in. And these days we have started talking about content consumption. So that is also a type of consumption. So everything that we consume makes us what we are, what we become. And in ancient Indian wisdom, ahar included not just what we eat, but also all the sensory impressions and the company we keep. So the company we keep, you talked about, and the sensory impressions, since we are being bombarded with so much of sensory impressions, they have become a very important factor in shaping us what we are. And since they have become a necessity like food, we can't stop them, but we can control their quality. Just as we can control the quality of what we eat, we can control the quality of these sensory impressions. So, of course, apart from the company that we keep, which you should select properly, but the content from the social media can be selected carefully. And here, fortunately, the algorithms of the social media help us. For example, if you start with some good content, then you keep getting more and more suggestions for good content. So those algorithms are helping us. So you end up keep getting the type of material that you have selected. So you just have to make a good beginning. And of course, as you said, of course, there's such a plethora of material that itself can lead to decision fatigue. You selected good material, you get suggestions for good material, but then when you see that long strip of videos which are available, either you end up selecting one which is of the shortest duration, or you get so tired, I'll not none of them. You're quite happy to see the thumbnails, just as you might see in a newspaper, just the headlines, and get satisfied. So those thumbnails are serving the purpose of headlines. So you got something about what is going on, but you decide to watch nothing, as you said, at the end of all that, going through 15, 20 of those, because strip seems to be endless. Keep going down and keeps giving you more and more suggestions in light of your history of whatever you have watched in the last few days. And finally, you say, well, I'll watch nothing. Or one thing sometimes what I do is I just click on it, copy the link, make a file of favorite links on the desktop, a Word file, copy that and write down what was the topic and what was the duration of that video for later on. Very often that later on never comes, but I'm satisfied that I'll be able to find it easily whenever I want it. So that is another method that I have come up, sort of devised, and it seems to work. Then this hyper reality again, which you brought out, was a very interesting idea and so real. And very often in these advertisements, they also say that Well, the picture is only representative, accessory is not included, size is much bigger than the actual object, and so on, all that they say, but all that is in small print. I think this is something which we should make as a part of school education, because as the things are changing, school should be preparing children for all these things. And one of the things the children should learn is this concept of hyper reality. And I wish we have a few children's books which address this in a way which children can relate to and understand how we can be led into this illusory temptations towards objects which are never as good as they seem to be. So that is another very important thing that came out. Then, you said that people are having a very short attention span, but fortunately, people are realizing its drawback and are now once again, some people are talking in favor of longer videos and so on. And you said that on our channel, Yes Spirituality YouTube channel, we do have long videos. But then within that, I thought there are two playlists which may particularly give a viewer an idea of how a longer video can help. One is, a taste of Sri Aurobindo, and another is the Great Adventure. In a taste of Sri Aurobindo, very often just one line or a few lines have been developed into a half-an-hour video. And on the other hand, in this Great Adventure, just one page or sometimes 2 pages of the Great Adventure have been developed into a half-an-hour or 1 hour video. Now, what the reader will find is that how spending more time on digesting what you are reading, because essentially that is how the video becomes long. Digesting a little bit, how much more clearer it becomes and how much more meaningful it becomes and what all you can get from it. So you realize the value of not just going on consuming, but also spending time on digesting it. So these are two, I think, thought which might help. And then you had this idea of what all we can do to overcome this craving. Basically, every craving suggests a need, and every need or desire, as Sri Aurobindo said in the Life Divine, represents two things. Firstly, something which is incomplete, a void within us, and secondly, our incapacity. That is somehow at a certain level we feel that I may not be able to satisfy the need. And certainly none of us is able to get everything that we want. Basic needs we may satisfy, but we may want many things, none of us is able to get everything that we want. So that incapacity we do realize. And when we realize that, then we have a tendency to move towards that which has fullness. And that fullness is within us, because that spark of the divine, which is that fullness, is actually within us. The more and more we become aligned to it, the more and more we start feeling that fullness. And if you have everything, then you need nothing. So your desires automatically start going down. And since you also do not have that incapacity, you start feeling that power of the divine within. You know that if I really need something, I'll be able to get it, so you're not anxious about it. So I think that is one of the thoughts I thought which I can leave you with, one of the deep thoughts that takes us to the very root of this issue that we were talking about, these cravings. So thank you, Richa, once again. And we do need this type of talks on contemporary issues, and coming from an expert psychologist like you, it makes a lot of sense because you can put it in that proper professional perspective and same time put it in a way that is relatable, that everybody can relate with. Thanks a lot once again.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bajlani. So before closing today's session, let me quickly inform that the recording of all our Yes Talks are published on our YouTube channel, Yes Spirituality. You can visit the channel and explore more content on yoga, education, spirituality, and related subjects like psychology and wellness. Thank you so much, Richa, for sharing your valuable time with all of us. And participants, thank you for being with us today. We'll close today's session now with a moment of peaceful silence. Namaste.